And here we go, back again for another try. All right, this time we're going to be making some kind of rocky shards. Now I've used these a lot in various kind of builds of mine where I'm building with lava or even in desert environments. I like to create a nice kind of big rocky shard. And this is what we're going to be using to make our giant rocky shards. Now I have glued 2 pieces of XPS together just so I get a bit of a chunkier base to start on. Now that has been drying away for a couple of days now. Now I am using a green Bastion XPS that we have here in Australia. It is fucking atrocious. But for this, it should be okay right now. Usually I prefer a much denser XPS. And I do have a few available at the moment. The ones I have are a bit crumbly, good for detail, but not so much the carving. It's really tough here right now. So that's what we're going to be using, and maybe a few things around it. But if you do have a really nice dense XPS, use that instead. All right. Now first, I can just start carving this and I'm pretty sure what I'm doing. But for the layperson, you might want to mark out where you're going to go with this XPS. So we're going to have a bit of a rise like that. Come down, that's our shard area. But at the first, I like to create kind of 3 gradients to that step. We're not going to be starting right there. So we're going to have a middle and an end. And maybe just even create some variability. We don't want them to go straight up either. We want them to be kind of weird in areas, you know. Natural weirdness is what we like. So maybe a bit like that. And what I'm first going to do is just cut straight in. We want to get our piece ready for carving. There we go. Snap that off, chuck it away. All right, let's come in here. Snap, go away. Now I've got that little bit extra there that I wanted to do, just so I had a bit of difference here. And like I've said, what I did want to do originally when I was making these giant rocky shards is just use some large bark pieces that are, you know, kind of like those pine bark things you see. Now they're great for small. I was thinking there might be something larger that I could use in that variety to get there, but I could never find such a thing. So I started emulating that kind of look with XPS. And that's kind of the basis we're using. So firstly, we're going to be cutting down to that mark there. And kind of like, you don't have to go exactly thirds that way. You could even make one side fatter than the other. And that's kind of interesting sometimes. So we might do that in this instance. But first, we're going to cut down to our first little basis there. Or a roundabout. So we're just going to, you know, choose a spot on our foam. Dig it down on both sides. We don't want to go entirely the way through. We're kind of doing that angle, if it makes sense. And then we're going to rip it back and see how close we got. It's all iteration, these kind of shards. There you go. We got part of the way there. Let's keep going the rest of the way there. Now sometimes you might not even want to be exactly on the lines you've done before. Alright, see? I missed a bit there. That's fine. We're going to leave that. And let's just muddy this up. We don't want perfect cuts. We don't want perfectly straight triangles. We want to make different parts here. Alright, there we go. We're not going to do too much detailing yet. We're going to get the structure formed. So let's take our next cut. And we're going to go down to that second level we formulated, but we've already cut that off. So we're going to try and, you know, judge whereabouts we want to cut through. Maybe we want to cut a bit deeper onto the other side. You don't know. See, that looks good for that side so far. All right, let's turn it around and do the same old thing. So just cutting down until we find that point that we want near the base. And that's how we first start these shards. It might look a bit funny at first, but sometimes you might even want to angle it as well. We don't want it completely straight. There we go. That's pretty good. Let's keep building this part down. Keep digging. There we go. Let's cut that down. There we go. We got one step there. Let's keep going with that step. Now you see, I am being a bit dangerous with my knife in my hand, but I kind of know how far my hand is to where the blade is. So you can see it's never really in place, but usually you want to cut, well, away from yourself. But when you get comfortable, you can kind of start breaking those rules a little bit where you're comfortable. Knife safety is important, especially when you're doing these big cutting exercises. All right, let's keep going. See, I'm kind of creating, like this one had the 3 radiants, 1, 2, 3 up top. This one we might want 4, 1, 2, maybe one in the middle, and then one on the top. Just keep thinking about these things as you're building. Just thinking about kind of studying that bark. All right. Let's just chunky that away because we don't like it. All right, that is the basis for our build. Now you can see we've got a few ridges there. It's not too much yet, although that'd still be serviceable if you only want to do something, you know, neat. And something I like doing is just usually, sometimes I like leaving on that tip because it makes a nice sharp desert point. Like if you really want to look a bit alien environment-y, that's great and I love it. But we're going to just cut that off because sometimes that is very eroded. All right, now we've got our gradients. Now we're going to start carving those back to, you know, kind of a bit more, carving those back so they're not so like strange from each other. We're going to carve them so it's a bit less like a few more carves before you get to each stage, not just so abrupt. So we're just slowly slicing in where we want to. Might start down the bottom first. Cutting in. Sometimes you might want to make nice smooth cuts. Sometimes you might just want to dig in and flip it out. That is up to you. Try and deviate from these occasionally. You know what I mean? You want to not just use the same method to create these shards, because you want them to look a bit more rocky natural. See, I cut in a little bit, flick it out. I find, oh yeah, that's looking pretty good there. I might want to just cut that a little bit there. And sometimes you might even want to go fully in on one area underneath. So you're creating those variations there. I like that sometimes. All right, we've done that first step there. I like that. That's some good natural radiations. Let's work from the next step down. Slowly carving, pulling it away. I do kind of like to tear it away rather than cut it all away. Sometimes with tearing, you get that real rough look on some edges. Now let's kind of, yeah, let's make a nice sharp bit here that way. I like that kind of thing. And then smooth it out on that side a little bit. All right, keep going on down here. Slow, smooth cuts around the edge. Slow moves cuts. Just kind of cutting layers off as you try and get to that next stage. And doing less and less as you go. That's the approach. All right, I like that next step. Look at that. And now the last step here. Let's start. You know what? I kind of like leaving that there, where the top part is, but let's just do this side part maybe a little bit. Slow, deliberate cuts, and we don't want to go fully up to that line. We want to just break a little bit beforehand, and that's how you get that natural gradation of rock from different stages. And now the next part, cutting away a little bit as we go. I like this kind of ledge here, but let's make that a bit more severe. Let's cut in there. Let's really go to town on this part. Make it part of a different like rock structure maybe. And we might want to still cut in there, keep cutting in a little bit. So we gradiate it, but not too far because we know we're going to do it from the other side as well. We need to leave a little bit. All right, this is going all right. Okay. Cutting little bits. We're just kind of almost like shaving it, if that makes sense. Just shaving little pieces off until we are happy with where we're at. Little bits at a time. All right, I like that side. Look at that. Now, of course, I'm working quite quickly because I've done quite a few of these, but take your time while you're doing this. Just keep cutting back to the next area. chipping away. Sometimes you might want, okay, I want a little bit of an extra groove there where something has maybe chipped or broken, or even just a different rock strata across there. Make those things look interesting and diverse. See? Different angles as well is good. We've been doing a lot of those angles, but let's, go in a few different angles now and then from both sides. Just working as we go. That is a great side. I like it. And now with that side done, it's time to work on the next. But we know what we're doing now, so let's speed this up just a little bit.
I found a picture we took many years ago, when I said to you we would never grow old. Messages I've saved that I never send, cause I don't know you, but I used to back then. I remember that I was drunk out my mind when we kissed for the first time. In the back of your car we passed out counting stars. Promised all these years we'd pack our things and disappear. I never thought I would see you here after all this time.
Now from here the process is actually quite similar to my lava fishes. First, we give them a bit of a glue coat. Now this is mostly something I do because this green foam is atrocious and that kind of hides that bubbly texture. But this is also a very good protective measure because sometimes when you're carving these pieces they can be a little thin, especially at the top, and doing this heavy PVA coat is going to protect those details through gaming use. Once that's dry, we're going to do the same sort of painting process, which is providing a decent dark grey kind of layer first, then dry brushing it down. Once that's done, we're going to add that to our bases, kind of similar to the lava fishes again, with using heavy pine bark pieces to kind of create that rocky shard atmosphere on the base, and then the rocky kind of broken ground underneath. Now for this, I did paint the rocky shards a little bit separately just to show you a bit more of that process. But if you need to, you can of course paint this entire base and terrain structure all in one go, giving it a good coat with your basic primer, then going nuts with the dry brushing and coloring effects. Now of course I did add the lava at the end because I just love that little bit of glow around this deep stone exterior. But one thing to note is this does go great in some of the other themes as well. I've had some brown desert shards like sandstone kind of look breaking out from a nice sandy desert base. Looks wonderful. You can even go something a bit more alien with the purple colors and the pinks and all that kind of thing. These terrain features fit a great number of environmental areas, so feel free to go crazy with the paint styles. And that's it for our lava terrain crafting here with the rocky shards. So I will see you next time.
I will keep you safe.
Subscribe,
All this time.
like, comment, all that stuff. Grrr.